Hello and welcome to CCTV's live coverage of the Lib Dem Hustings here in Southampton with the very own Tim Farron.
Tim Farron.
Tim Farron.
It's all right. It's okay. I forget sometimes. Carry on.
Very nice to have you
Great
here.
to see you. Thanks for having us, guys. Thank you.
I'm Tom Watson-Brown.
And I'm Leo Gavain.
Anyway, Leo, should we start you
We've
off
got some
interview?
questions. It's going to be quite a somber one to start off with.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, the general elections didn't go quite to plan. Could you actually have imagined how bad that would have been?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I guess my sense was that the hammering we got, I was expecting us to do badly. I did not expect us to go down to 8 seats. I mean, all I will say is that I was born in 1970, a fortnight before we got stuffed and got 6.
Yeah.
So we've been here before,
Come round
and in reality, it is what it is. And either Britain's liberal voice, gives up and dies, or we decide we are going to go this far and no further. And you've just seen the last 5 weeks with the Threat to Human Rights Act, the Snoopers Charter, appallingly illiberal anti-extremism orders, the attack on 12 billion welfare cuts, the sell-off of housing association properties. There's never been more need for a Liberal Party in Britain, and yet we've never been under more threat.
And who are the British Liberals?
Well, I can tell you who 18,000 of them are. They are the new people who've just joined the party since the general election, perhaps shocked out of, they might even say themselves, complacency. And these are people who voted Green or Labour, or indeed maybe voted Liberal Democrat and feeling their hearts to be Liberals and thought, hecky thump, we're in a situation where Britain's proud Liberal voice could die unless we step up to the mark to make it happen. So my job is to recruit those tens of thousands of people who consider themselves Liberals and make them, Liberal Democrats in practice, and then turn Liberal Democrats into winners.
It seemed a little bit in the past that the Lib Dems have defined themselves by what they're not.
Yeah.
And I think, as by nature of the coalition, one probably has to do that just in order to get buy-in through day-to-day living.
Yeah.
But you're no longer in coalition. You are a party down to 8 seats from 56, was it?
That's right, yeah.
How are you going to define yourself going forward, regardless of whether you're successful in your leadership?
So coming up with loads more policies, we got good policies, for pity's sake, just nobody knew what they were. And our sense, and my sense, is that if you have a list of longer than 3 things, you've lost people. To me, the things that make me passionate are human rights, they are climate change, and they are housing. Everybody needs to live somewhere. In a sense, I joined the Liberals when I was 16 because I'd watched something called Cathy Come Home, and you guys are interested in film and TV, you should watch it if you haven't already. Groundbreaking Ken Loach documentary from the late 60s. Now, I take the view that if you can't connect with people and make them passionate about the things that you are passionate about, you're not going to get them to come over to you. And in the end, you need people to have a sense in their gut that you are the right party for them. I think people voted the way they did at the general election and voted Conservative where they did because there was a sense of fear, a mood that we did not want, Labour propped up by the SNP. It wasn't necessarily a rational calculation. And how you communicate with people is in a much more human one-to-one way. And so my job is to try and get across to people in a way which, hopefully doesn't make me sound too much like a politician, that talks about the issues that people are excited about and turn our opinions and our policies into something that makes people passionate and want to give up their time to campaign for us and at very least vote for us.
But of course, you're quite left of centre in terms of you're quite liberal in the party, but there are also quite a lot of people who are more centrist. How would you re-engage them?
Well, first of all, I think one of the problems the Liberal Democrats have had is that we want to be like the other parties sometimes, and we want factions too. And factions are just stupid. So I don't buy the line that there's much of a division at all. I mean, the Liberal Party, Liberal Democrats, we sort of sit centre-left, but we're a progressive party, we're a Liberal Party. The Labour Party is not. The Labour Party is the party of ID cards, of attacking Iraq, of detention without trial, of giving succour to the racist vans, the immigration vans that were sent around in the last couple of summers. This is an illiberal party, and if people want a party that wants to stand up for the traditional liberties that we fought and died for in this country, then the Liberal Democrats are their party.
Okay. Now, liberalism, it's a very vague word. It may have...
So's every word. So's conservatism, so's socialism. What the flip is a green, for pity's sake? But carry on.
The Liberal Party meant something in the 18th century and the 19th century. And you've said, you stand for, being liberal and free and all the rest of it. How is one pragmatically liberal? How does one retain the art of the politician to, get through Westminster life, and yet remain human enough to relate to people on the street?
Well, I mean, the second part of your question is very important, and Charles Kennedy, who we celebrate his life and remember him this week as he passed away last week. First time I was on Any Questions, I asked him for some advice, and his advice to me was simply just be yourself. Don't pretend to be anybody else other than yourself. And the question is, who are you? And so you've got to spend your time with people who are just normal for what it's worth. So I do go to Westminster because that's where my job is, but I spend much more time immersed in the community that I live in Cumbria, which is not any different than anywhere else for what it's worth. And you've got to try and remain connected to what people feel. If you're going to win an election, and you need to win elections to make people's lives better, then you win an election by listening to people, by understanding what they want, and trying to craft your ideology, your passion into things that will move them. So I think, for example, in my patch, the big battle is between the Liberal Democrats who want to build council houses to house people, because we're in the Lake District, you have London house prices and anything but London wages, and so anybody on a middle to low income is absolutely stuffed when it comes to a place to live. So we want to build council houses, and the Tories try and stop us. And that battle, to my mind, is always help when you can enthuse potential voters and your own volunteers and helpers to understand that the end result of all that leafleting, all that campaigning, is that a family that will be otherwise completely stuffed and stuck in overcrowded accommodation actually gets a decent home. And you have to win political battles and then win elections before you can make people's lives better.
Sorry, Leo. For what it's worth, why are you better than Norman Lamb to do that?
Well, I mean, I love Norman. He's a great man, and he's been a really good minister, made a massive difference in terms of mental health. But we're in a situation here where with 8 MPs, we need to have the fight back of our lives. Otherwise, it will be the end of the Liberal Democrats. The success of the Liberal Party is essential, it is not inevitable. And so why me? Well, look, when all said and done, I'm the only candidate for the Liberal Democrats across the whole country who got a majority of the vote. In my patch, it was the only place in the European elections in mainland Britain, in those European elections that we did so badly in last May, that came first and topped the poll. And those dreadful police commissioner elections you might remember 3 years ago, which nobody was interested in, only one place in the United Kingdom did the Liberal Democrats came first, and it was in my patch. Because it's not just enough to want the Liberal Democrats to survive and thrive. You need to have a plan, the energy, and the way of operating with people to be able to make it so, and I want to make it so.
So you're saying the grassroots campaigning, going back to basics and building up from the ground?
Well, I do more than go back to basics. You've got to learn from all sorts of other people in terms of how they campaign. You've got to be not too proud to look at how others operate and borrow good ideas. And I've never been too proud to borrow other people's ideas.
You don't want to adopt the same campaign that the Tories ran this election in terms of...
No, well, I want to be effective. I want to be effective. And Charles Kennedy, right, was human, principled and effective. And my surmising is this, that those 3 things are connected. And that actually the good guys can be effective. What we saw with Linton Crosby and the Tories, hats off to them, congratulations on a good win, being very, very effective, spotting a national mood, turning it into something which won them a general election. Why should the bad guys be the ones who are effective? I want the good guys to be effective. There's nothing dishonourable about wanting to win. The question is, do you want to win for the right reasons and for the right people? And I do.
And have you set a long-term plan out for that in terms of, are you targeting seats already for next election?
I have a very clear idea what I want to do. Okay. I'm not going to share everything with it, but you've got to start quickly. The main thing is build up the membership base, focus on what is coming next, local elections, Welsh National Assembly, Scottish Parliamentary, London Assembly elections. Do those things, build up from the grassroots, make yourself credible. Actually, be audacious, and we will have, with 8 MPs, we will have no right to talk to your colleagues and the rest of the media unless we go out and fight for it. So we need to be, soft-hearted, hard-headed, brass-necked.
So, if it were to win you a general election, if you thought it would win you a general election, would you run a campaign of fear? As you would describe the Conservative thing?
No, I wouldn't. But I would run a campaign that that attracted a right mood and made people feel. Because actually, you can see sometimes elections can be won.
Fear?
No, I mean it's about how what you want is, for example, an election which is about hope. I want people to be moved in their gut by things that are good and right. So in the European Union referendum coming.
The election.
Oh, I'll lose. That's fine. I'm prepared to lose, but I don't want to, and I don't accept that the only way to win an election is fear. And that's the great danger. That what we've learned from the election last month is that you need a bogeyman, Sturgeon or Cameron, and it worked well for both of them. They should buy each other a pint. And what we want is something which is about hope and going forward in a positive way. And I think that's entirely possible. And I just look, the European referendum coming up.